What's up, guys? Sci-Fi Guy 2094 here. Today, I have a very bizarre review. Okay, I'm going to be talking about Ash. Okay, so this one stars Isa Gonzalez. I don't know who she is, but she's super hot. She looks like Gal Gadot and Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad. Now, right off the bat, I just want to say this movie is strange. It's bizarre. It's psychedelic. It is not your typical sci-fi um, planetary exploration film. It is not like anything you've ever seen, most likely. Okay, there are some common tropes in this, which is the main character. We're introduced to her in the very beginning. She wakes up, she seemingly has no memory of her past or events that have happened. That's super common in like sci-fi movies. I mean, even back when I was a kid watching Resident Evil, that was like the main, character, Alice. She wakes up, the world has gone to shit and she doesn't even know who she is, you know. But we've seen that before in sci-fi films. So basically, during this whole film, um, we're shown flashbacks, and she's trying to piece memories together. But basically, she wakes up. She's at this base on a different planet. We're kind of told that Earth's oxygen is basically depleted. So you have her and her crew. They're on this base on another planet. At least they're not in a spaceship somewhere. That would have been too cliche. They're already on the planet. She wakes up. Her crew's dead. She has like no memory of what happens. We see flashbacks here and there. Basically, some guy played by Aaron Paul, he comes to retrieve her because they have to make it off-site to a different a ship that's orbiting the planet. Because he finds out what happens there. Basically, their oxygen levels are low. He's kind of sent there for a rescue mission. He was basically the guy who is supposed to do like I guess not maintenance, but just like check up on the actual mission that they were sent on. So he gets there, he doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know what's going on. She starts getting memories of what has happened. We see that she keeps getting flashbacks of her and her crew. And basically, to make a long story short for this film, they found this weird type of organism that's parasitic in nature that was growing around their base. Rhea, who is played by Isa Gonzalez, basically thinks, okay, well, this thing is like possibly a revolutionary organism that has properties that can, help humans on Earth, help restore oxygen. It's some type of creature. They don't really explain too much about what type of organism this is. The only thing is, like, everyone else in their crew is like, okay, there's been a breach. Our oxygen levels are low. We can't stay here. We gotta go. She wants to study this organism. So she puts it in this petri dish. It actually gets out of the petri dish and it basically infects people's mind and can control them. So once that happens, you know, this organism is trying to defend itself. So it'll infect the brain and it'll attack anybody. So she has to defend herself. So she didn't just kill her crew. She did, but she did it in self-defense because this thing was attacking her. This movie is very weird. I feel like they did not need to have so many of these weird psychedelic shots. And the bits and pieces of the flashbacks, of her and her crew. I understand, they're showing a little bit more pieces as the movie goes on, and then, she's piecing together what happened there. But overall, I think they went too psychedelic with this movie. I think they could have cut down a lot of that stuff. Visually stunning, very interesting. The plot is not hard to follow. It's somewhat simple to follow. I kind of would have liked a little bit more time with her studying this parasitic thing. But that's the main theme of this. And basically, when Aaron Paul gets there, he was basically telling her, like, okay, yeah, basically, this was a terraforming mission. And there's this scene where, like, they see one of these big underground kind of tunnel things, and they throw something down there. And then something gets disturbed, and then it just, like, there's this huge storm that blows up in their face, and they got to go back to base. And yeah, it was, I mean, it's interesting, but honestly could have been a little bit more cohesive with her studying the organism, and the other people trying to figure out, okay, is this a good idea, is this not a good idea. It was not a sterile environment. The thing just basically busts out of the petri dish, and then it was like loose on their base. It was not contained in any type of way. So, they could have done better with that. I didn't think they wanted to go the whole typical alien parasite route, because for a lot of the film, it's not even about that. No, we don't even find out about that till like halfway through. A lot of the time, it's just like halfway through the film, they're just like trying to deal with like the depleting oxygen and trying to figure out what happened, at the base. So I don't know, could have been better in that aspect. Not too bad. It wasn't predictable. I'll give you that. It wasn't predictable because we actually didn't know that this was going to be like some type of parasitic monster type of creature feature. Now I got to say one thing. There are some cool scenes later on where Aaron Paul gets infected, and I'm pretty sure they took inspiration from John Carpenter's The Thing, because his head kind of opens up, his face is peeling off, he's got these tentacles. It looks like that anime Parasite. If you guys have seen that anime Parasite, basically it looks like that. This dude is like infected with this thing, and now he's trying to kill her. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. This film is bizarre. It is it's different. I'll just say that it's different. I didn't hate the film. Okay, I didn't hate it. I did not love it either. I love interplanetary stuff. That's sci-fi. I like the film. I say it's average to good for like a sci-fi film. They focus more on the thriller and mystery part than actual creature feature, which I kind of like, because going into this, I had no idea there was like any type of creature in this film. So that was kind of a surprise. Decent film. If you like sci-fi thrillers, you will like this. There is a little bit of a horror element in here, but not too much. And then we have an ending where they're actually able to get off planet and get back up to the station where they need to be to recoup and figure out what went wrong. We have a little bit of a twist ending. Some people may see it coming, but probably most people did not see that ending coming. I'm not going to say it here. But yeah, this was a good movie overall. I think I gave this movie a 6 out of 10, or 6.5 out of 10 or so. I watched it with some friends last night. It was bizarre. We were all a little bit confused watching this, to be honest. But overall, it is a good watch. I would recommend it if you like sci-fi, thriller, and horror, and distant planet and space type of movies. So, solid 6.5 out of 10. I would recommend watching this. You can pick up the Blu-ray, or you can actually just pay for it on Fandango Vudu. If you're unsure, rent it on Fandango or Apple TV or what Movies Anywhere, if it's on Movies Anywhere. But yeah, that's my review of this film. Comment down below if you have seen Ash and let me know what you think.